everyone, you're welcome back to my channel. At some point at work or in your cloud journey, you may actually discover that the storage capacity of your virtual machine isn't really enough to handle your growing data or application needs. So whether it's for storing more files, databases, or application data, having that, flexibility to add extra storage is actually very crucial, all right? So in this video, I'm going to show you how to easily achieve that in Azure, giving you the extra space you need without any hassle. I'll be walking you through on how to attach an Azure Managed Disk to your VM, actually a Linux VM, okay? And then how to format and partition the disk, then how to mount the disk to your VM, as well as going extra mile to persist the mount so that it can persist upon system reboot, okay? So if this sounds like what you're here for, kindly watch this video to the end and kindly give me a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notification, because more Azure videos, AWS videos, as well as SRE and DevOps videos will be dropping soon, and you don't want to miss that. Let's get started. So I'm already signing. Yeah, this is my this is Azure portal, right? We'll be using Azure portal, and already I have my VM named Tish VM1. So this VM needs extra storage capacity. You can see what I have here, and I just need extra storage capacity. All right, I'll need that to store more files. If I scroll down, you should be able to see the OS disk that comes with this VM, okay? But I need extra storage. So what do? I need to create an Azure Managed Disk. Already I have my disk. So here I have my Azure Managed Disk already created. You can see the size here. The storage type is premium SSD LRS, okay? And this disk needs to be attached to my virtual machine. As you can see, it says unattached, okay? So how do we attach this disk to my VM? So I'll have to go back to my VM. So once you open your VM, just come to the left navigation pane. I already expanded this, but you can find that from settings. So once you expand this setting option, you should be able to see disk. Click on that. So if you don't have a disk already, you need to create a disk, okay? Create an Azure Managed Disk, and it's so easy to do that. Maybe I should just show you the option, but it's actually very simple to create. Once you click or you open the disk service, all right, click on create Azure Managed Disk, and you should be able to just fill in these options. You should be able to know the size of the disk you want. It depends on the amount of data you actually want to store, okay? Just a normal way of doing this stuff is actually very simple, and you create that. So let me go back to my VM, going back to disk. So from this window, you should be able to see your OS disk, and we don't have any business here, okay? And this is data disk, right? So from here, you should even see there is an option to create a new data disk if you don't have it. But we have an existing data disk. So what should I do? You just click on this attach existing data disk, right? And because that is the first disk we want to attach to our VM, it is actually LUN0. That is what it shows here. So I won't touch here. So from here, I should be able to select the disk that I want to attach. This is it here. Teach data disk 1. I'll select that. And that is actually that. From here, you can see host caching option. You can select read only or read write. But I don't really want to do host caching, so I'll just leave it at none. So after selecting this, all I need to do is to apply. So once I click on apply, this disk will be attached to my VM. So let's click on that. You can see updating virtual machine. So let's give it a moment to finish the app. So it has actually attached the data disk to my VM, okay? And yeah, this is it here. So this is my disk attached. If I click on this disk, it should be able to show attached. Great. As you can see here, it is attached. All right, but that doesn't end here. So the first stuff is to attach the disk to your VM, and then the next step will be to log into our VM in order to partition and format this disk because it's actually a new disk. So let's get to the terminal. So now I've SSH into my VM, and the first thing I need to do is to locate the newly attached disk. Okay, how do I locate that? There's the command we can use to find our disk. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy that here. Let me get rid of this double quote here. Press enter. Great. So after filtering this out, is basically showing us the SD's disk, all right? And my own is SDC. This is the size of my disk, all right? So we should be able to partition this disk. You can as well use LSBLK to see everything here, okay? So this is all the disk I have in this VM, okay? But this is the secondary disk that we attached, that is SDC over here. All right, so what is the next? We need to partition this disk. So this is a new disk, so we have to partition and format it. Please don't format a data disk that contains your data. So if it already contains data, you don't need to partition or format it. All you just need to do is to mount it. So because it's a new disk, let's see how we can partition and format it. So I'll go here. I have the command. We'll be using a pattern utility, all right, to format the disk. And how do we format it? I'm just gonna copy this one after the other. So I'm going to paste this command, and this is to partition the disk actually. So it will create a GPT partition table and partition the disk. It will take up to 100% of the disk space actually, and it will be ready for use with an SFS file system. Okay, so why are we using this stuff here? So this is our disk. That is why we are using /dev/sdc because that is what we found here as the secondary disk we attached. Okay, so please ensure you don't make mistake because partitioning a different disk may actually lead to data loss. Okay, so I'll press enter and that is done. So to format it, I'm going to paste it here and it will be formatted. And that is actually done. Now let's update the system because the operating system is actually supposed to be informed of the new partition changes, all right? I'll paste it and press enter and that is done. Now the next step is to mount our disk, okay? So we need to first create a directory where we want to mount the file system. So if I type df-h to check how the file system is doing, you can see that we don't have the disk mounted yet. Okay, so this is what we got by default. All right, so we need to mount the new disk we've attached. The disk we just partitioned and formatted. So how do we mount it? Let's first create, or let me clear my screen. So I'm going to be creating a directory where I want to mount this, and I'm going to name this data disk. Okay, so directory has been created. How do we mount it? To mount it, I'm going to be typing sudo mount -dev. Remember, this is our disk, right? So I will be typing the directory that I've created, which is where I want to mount the disk. Okay, so sudo mount dash dev slash dev slash sdc1. This one is actually the disk, and we want to mount it to this directory. Okay, so all I need to do is to press enter, and then let's confirm that this has been mounted successfully. Great, you can see our disk has been mounted successfully. Now we need to ensure persistence after reboot. Okay, so to make sure that this disk automatically remounts after a reboot, we need to add it to file. How do we locate that? Currently, if I type sudo cat fs tab, we should be able to see the default disk that have been persisted, but then we need to modify this file in order to persist this disk. All right, how do we do that? I'll use my favorite editor. I'll use vim, all right, to get into this file and then modify it. But first of all, before we even begin modifying this, let me go out of here first. I'm going to show you a command that you can use because we actually need this UI ID in order to persist this. So we need to get the UI ID of our disk that we just mounted, right? So how do we do that? Simply type bl keyed, right? Bl keyed, yeah. Great. So this actually shows us it will display the information about the block devices, okay, such as hard drives, partitions, and attached disk. So we are actually interested in getting the UUID of our disk. And what is UUID? This is actually the full name is universally unique identifier of our device. Okay, so it's very important. We need to use it to mount our device. Okay, to ensure persistence. So this is actually very unique per device or per disk, so you don't want to mistake one for the other. So here I'm not actually seeing the one for, but I'm gonna use sudo bl keyed so that everything will be displayed, right? The SDC1, this is our disk, right? See the UUID here, the block size is this, the type is SFS. So please, when you want to modify your FS tab, you need to, get familiar or copy out this when you run this command bl keyed, all right, because you don't want to use another file system type to persist this. You'll be making a mistake, so ensure you know the type and you copy out this. So I'm just gonna be copying this out. You also need to take a backup, so please, I'll urge you to take backup of your FS tab before you modify, in case you need to roll back. So I'm just going to copy this. So here we have it at etc fs tab. So I'm going to be copying that to this location. Okay, and let's actually see if the backup has been created, right? You can see my fs tab file and the backup I just created. Great. So let me clear my screen. Now we can go ahead to modify the fs tab. All right, so I'm leaving every other thing here untouched. I'm just gonna create a space and I'll paste what I have, but then I will be, all this extra information are not actually needed. Okay, so the UI ID, I need to get rid of this stuff here. Okay, please ensure you don't make mistake when you're pasting the UI ID. So I need to type the directory where I've mounted this disk, and the directory is data slash data disk. All right, the file system type is SFS, right? And then Do not worry, I'm going to be sharing a documentation that can actually help you to get these commands as well. All right, so I'll be typing the default no fail. So what have I done? I've actually just configured my device to, to be mounted at boot time, okay? Or the disk to be mounted at boot time. And why did I add default no fail? This default is just like a shorthand for the default mount option. Okay, we have some default mount option. Instead of customizing it, we are good with default. And this no fail option actually allow the system to the no fail I have here actually allow the system to continue booting even if the disk or partition is not available or fails to mount. Okay, ensure you add this no fail, okay, so that even if there is a problem with the disk or it fails to mount or whatever, it should allow the system to boot. That is actually all I need to do here, and I'll just save this file. Great, and that is all. So let's actually try this stuff by rebooting it. So you can type reboot here, or we can use the Azure portal to um actually restart the VM. So here you may choose to restart or stop the VM and then start it again. Great, it has stopped successfully. Now I can start this VM again. Great, so the VM has started. So I've SSH into my VM. So right now, let's test what we've done. If it doesn't mount, then there is definitely an error. So I can't find our data disk. So let's find out what happened. Let's view the FS tab and see if we made a mistake in our configuration. Okay, guys, sorry, I actually omitted adding s here. So let's quickly edit the file. This default is actually default. That should be s. I will save it. Okay, great. So now let's use sudo mount. So we can actually mount our disk from the FS tab directly. Okay, so let's mount it again. Sudo mount dash a. So when you type sudo mount dash a, it will actually mount your data disk based on the configuration you have in your FS tab. So great. I believe it has mounted successfully, but let's check. It has mounted. Okay, so we may try to reboot the server again. This point, let me just use reboot option here. Okay, after the reboot, let's check again. As you can see, we still have our disk here. So that persistence has been achieved. Let's switch directory to this mount point. So cd data disk. You should be able to, okay, so it's actually empty because we've not really stored any files or data in this location. So we can go ahead to, maybe create uh directories or whatever in this location, and say create folder one, sudo. All right, and now we have folder one, and you can create your files, whatever you want to do in this location. That is up to you because it's now part of your virtual machine. Okay, and you can also go ahead to give the right permission because it actually depends on what you're using this for. Some application may require some level of permission in order to write to this disk. Okay, so you need to ensure that at every point in time that any user or system that wants to write to this disk has the required level of permission that it deserves. So we've successfully attached Azure Managed Disk to our Linux VM. We partitioned that, we formatted it, and mounted it to our Linux VM. Okay. We also ensure that there is persistence upon system reboot. Thank you so much for staying true to the end of this video. If you found this helpful, please ensure you like this video, subscribe, also turn on the notification bell because you have more cloud, DevOps, and SRE videos that will be dropping soon. You don't want to miss out. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.